I know so many people have been live already, and we are talking to death, these current cases, Kylie Rodney's situation, what's happening with Kegan Kline and everything. But I keep coming in at the end of everybody's lives. So maybe everybody's really talked out about it, and I'm the only one that's wanting to keep talking about it. Just for now anyway, but I just thought I would see if anyone wanted to come in and have a discussion about it. About what specifically. I touched on a lot of things I was mulling over already with regards to Kylie Rodney, but I had just wanted to mention the broken window because I don't think I'd really realised about that, previously, that the window was actually smashed. Was it smashed from the outside? Was it smashed from the inside? Was it on the driver's door? I think it's on the driver's door. I mean, it really throws you into deep speculation, doesn't it, about what might have happened and about the fact that maybe two people were initially in the car when it went into the water. A driver has smashed the window, gotten themselves out, been wet themselves, had to get changed, has gone back to the party, and everyone's skedaddled. Maybe Sammy has, a certain person has wanted to start leaving the party around 12:15, has said to somebody, Kiely, why don't you text your mother and just say that's when you're leaving because you can give me a ride then. And then Sammy has been driving the car and driven it into the water. I just can't get over the thoughts of what a terrible, terrifying death. You imagine being in that car. It's so dark out there. There might be a little bit of moonlight or starlight, but there wouldn't be much. And as you're going underwater in the freezing, icy water, a trickle at first and then absolutely pouring in. We've seen how quick you need to be to get out of a sinking car, right? Once you've smashed that window, you have to be very certain, very brave and powerful. And you can do it, but you have to kind of know in advance, this is what happens if my car goes under. This is how I break the window. This is where I pull myself out. This is how quick I have to be. And if you're tangled up with a seatbelt, or passed out on the back seat, you're not getting out of that car. The other thing I just wanted to talk about again, because the broken window is so odd, but then also I still can't get past 50 feet in. Is that just the slow settling of the car as it moves with a little bit of velocity and there's not really that much resistance or something? And also when it flips, maybe it sort of gains, it would gain another 15, 20 feet or whatever, wouldn't it, if it flipped over? So maybe that's why it's in 50 feet. I don't know. Is anyone saying anything? Do you think anything about it? Yeah, I just can't get over those sort of 2 points. I think it's kind of strange that, look, Kiely is so young, and for there to be so much trust already in her just being out and partying, and no, she's always a good girl. She looks after herself. It's okay. I mean, that does seem a bit weird. I don't know what I think. I don't know. I feel like my parents might have come out to the sanctuary to drag my ass home. So most of the time they never knew where I was, you know. And then I was thinking just about the Kegan Kline situation. There is a lot of speculation that that is to do with Abby and Libby. But, you know, Kegan has been just so coy in interviews, right, about Delphi. Is he suddenly now going to be cutting deals? I don't know. It really could be to do with his CS charges, right? Because, you know, maybe he's gone through so many devices. Maybe it's a device in the Wabash River. You know, it doesn't have to be to do with Delphi, and particularly if he only knows something about Delphi, but maybe, sorry, I'm playing with my hair and shit like that. I feel that he would be very reserved about coming forward with any sort of dobbing, because he's in great danger already, really, but he'd be in so much danger. I don't know if he would. I don't know if he would cut a deal about that. Because he seems, I think that he seems to feel that if he just keeps mum, nothing can be done. And indeed, that's what he's done for 5 years. So why would, you know, do you think law enforcement have found something very specific that they've been able to take to him to suddenly induce this sense of duty and cooperation? Because they've had 5 years, he's been very coy, he's never said anything. Would he really need to say something? So I'm a little bit reserved, and, you know, when it comes to thinking that it might be to do with Delphi. I think, you know, a lot of people just haven't, you know, of course we've got a lot of, a lot of wishful thinking, right? And, you know, hope that that's just going to come to some fruition, that we can all be put out of our deep misery, let alone have the families be put out of their misery. There's just always the same things just bubbling up to the surface and being churned over with Delphi. For example, CP, because, you know, admittedly, right, this guy, you know, you can talk loving families, supportive families all you like, but, you know, when someone's a bad egg, they're a bad egg. And when someone expresses attitudes like they have, even if it was in jest, let's just pretend we think it's in jest, about I only nutted in her once, bruh, she was only 14. I mean, this is foul any way you look at it, right? And it's not acceptable for someone that has been taken into a home and is allowed to stay under the same roof. So that means domestic. And we've looked at staged murders, domestic relationships, the likelihood of them being involved. You know, it's not acceptable behavior for someone that has been graciously allowed to live under a roof, and there are young girls not only living there but visiting there all the time. Who thinks this is okay? Who thinks this isn't saying that these in entirety that this family isn't grieving, they're not that they're not suffering. I'm not saying they have anything to do with it. I'm saying these cases, and this is partly why I get interested in it, these cases highlight what is wrong in society, in our enablest society, with what we think is acceptable, who our alliances and allegiances and loyalties lie with. Who do we protect in life? It doesn't seem to be the young children that deserve to be brought up in some sort of tight-knit family unit of blood, because this is where, okay, they're not safe there all the time, but this is where they are safest. And we've got a family that has a father that's lost custody. Now, okay, maybe he'd only just moved in, but he's under that roof. And we've got a troubled youth who's no longer really a youth, and he doesn't really have the excuses of, disenfranchised teenager just struggling with the process of growing up and learning how to overcome the mistakes he's made. No, he just seems to be having just these ongoing problems. So, these things are a worry, whether they have anything directly to do with the girl's murders or not. It reflects on the attitudes of the values of what's at home. Like, what were the values? But we generously take people in and know we are a haven, we help all. But you're there supposed to be your guardians of young girls, of Kelsey and Liberty. And how safe are they? What are you letting around them? We know from case after case after case that people are at risk when wolves are let into the gingerbread house, so to speak. And when we're not paying attention, and when we make too many allowances or turn a blind eye because we don't want to see, So I started that little conversation with, okay, so of course the CP rape pregnant thing is rearing its ugly head over and over again. Look, now sure, it's a possibility, and an awful one at that. Why would law enforcement cover this up? I mean, to this extent, an autopsy, even if maybe if her womb had been ripped out to somehow try and stop people knowing about a fetus or whose fetuses it was, really, I don't know, but maybe. But look, if she was pregnant, they would know. That would give them some very good clues. They would be investigating so tightly, and in fact, they would owe the community to make known POIs and suspects, because what sort of community leaders don't let their community be warned? Here we've got Tobe saying, you don't need to worry, there's nothing to be concerned about. Anyway, sorry, this is just going to be very rambly. I just had these things on my mind. So yeah, okay, it's a possibility, but it just seems that, and then that solves the conundrum of, look, if this is something against liberty, then why though? Who in their right mind, who, even a cruel person, how would they take Abby out as well? Well, if Libby said, well, to Abby, I'm pregnant, yeah, sure, that gives motive, right? So that's going to give people this motive to wank on about now. I don't know. I just think, I don't know. I don't know if the investigation would have sounded and looked any different if these things were possibly true, right? If it was possibly true that Libby was pregnant. And why would they be reluctant to arrest CP, right? Or, yeah, I don't know. It seems impossible. And then I wanted to say, okay, who is it that's bringing up about the FBI? Okay, so we've known for quite a while that the FBI investigators, it's in Indianapolis, it's kind of tied to Indiana, and the Larry Nassar situation with USAG. So basically, for the sake maybe of prestigious positions and things like that, we're to believe that, people let Larry Nassar pretty much get away with the most heinous abuse, and these young women and girls were put through such repulsive, disrespectful situations. They weren't believed, they weren't taken seriously, their cases weren't expedited at all. Everything was held back and delayed and muted. It's the most terrible thing to happen to someone because they were so brave to come forward. Is this just an attitude about abuse that happens to girls? Does it mean that it's somehow connected to the CSAM? Was Larry Nassar, because he is such a revolting pig, he's not a human being, is there electronics involved there and sharing? I don't know, this isn't making sense. I'm aware of that. I should have thought this through before I got on to sort of mull it over. Rubes never lifts anything. Yeah, I don't know. Well, no one's saying anything, so I'll see you later. I don't want to sit here talking to myself. How do I? Sorry, miss. Spell crime photos. Hybrid Pisces is here. Oh, a couple of people are going to talk to me, maybe. I'm not making any sense, am I? But I think you guys both know the intricacies of the situations that I'm talking about, right? And people saying that Carter is now super regretful of handing things over to the FBI. But Carter's had a long career. Oh, you just got here. I was just going to hang up because no one was talking to me. Carter's had a long career, though. He would have been things to do with the FBI quite often. So it's not like he would have suddenly realized that they can be corrupt and useless and inept and purposefully abusing their power. When he says in April 2019, we know this is about power to you. I mean, was that actually a jab at the FBI who might have derailed his investigation? What do you think? Because of how the FBI has mishandled so many cases, particularly to do with the abuse of young children, girls and probably boys, but mainly girls from, say, 8, 9 years old to 15, 16 years old in the USAG. And, we know that these same FBI agents have had connections to the Delphi investigation. Oh, they do. They have. It seems, you look at Kiely Rodney's case, Hybrid, and what do you see? You see an ungrateful, No, I shouldn't say fat. I shouldn't say fat, but it's just like, it's just too cliche. I just saw on a YouTube short last night, um, someone was filming in what looked like some sort of New York brownstone street or something like that. Cops running along. Sorry, a fugitive, someone running away from cops, and the cops going, um, and saying to the person filming, the bystander, saying, "Get them, get them!" The bystander's going like, "What? No, you get him!" And the lumbering police, the standards have gone right down for intellect and physicality. I will say that. But yeah, you look at Kiely Rodney's case and you look at this police force standing out there with what they're saying, barely, trying to get away with at first, barely acknowledging AWP, just saying, so Kiely has been found, we've found. And tooting their own little horns, saying, oh, just please realize we knew practically everything before AWP came along. It is so ungracious. It is so disgusting. Now, sure, they said, look, don't believe everything that appears to be the case in social media, and they were alluding to Sammy being in charge. But, really, should they have allowed her to get on like that? Maybe they wanted to see what was going to come of it. But it seems odd. It's not for Sammy Smith to placate teenagers and say, don't be worried, don't be scared, just come forward. Nothing will happen to you. That's for LE to say, for them to say, just come forward and do the right thing. If you've got nothing to fear, just come forward, you'll be okay. It's a completely bonkers situation. Yeah, I'm always so torn. I'm always so torn because I'm so torn between giving them the benefit of the doubt. I think that's true in some regards, hybrid, but in the other, you can see what YouTubers are doing in Delphi, what they're solving, jack shit, Humanimal, Derek Germans and Cody Penny silence is where the answers lie, and they're both. That these two close to the family and they just don't say boo. I wonder where they're both living now. Derek got remarried, didn't he? Does anyone know which town Derek's living in? And Cody Patty, surely Cody Patty can't be living under that roof anymore. I wonder. And is Cody Patty, he's got a child. Is this true? He's got a child with someone that Derek has a child with. That's just, you can see there are zero boundaries in this family. Zero boundaries. Yeah, where is he, right? Sure, okay, because did he just somehow, look, the thing that makes it suspicious is not that he just doesn't appear now, is that from the very get-go he never appeared. So he somehow knew instantly, I should never say a word because I am going to get pulled apart. But the fact is, he never just came out at the very start. He's never said a word right from the start. Even if he had just said a few things and then thought, oh, look, I can't keep speaking up because I'm getting bullied. Hey, but it's the fact that he just right from the beginning, he's never made one statement. So that is completely screwy. And you just think, is it just because, he's well aware of what a dipshit he is, I wish I'd prepared something for you. I just wanted to have a chat, see who was here and see what people wanted to discuss about the Kegan Kline situation at the moment, or about, you know, we don't know that he's an informant and things like that, Johnny. That's not a fact at all. Yeah, Derek and Cody, right? So I think, you know, they're a couple of douchebags and they know it. And I think if they were douchebags with nothing at all to hide, well, they would have said something, been somewhere, right, at one point early on in the investigation. And then maybe when they realized, oh shit, we're getting pulled apart by vultures here because we've got a lot to be sorry for in terms of how we've lived our life, you know, things might look a bit different, but it is that cold silence. You know, I mean, I have my doubts too, okay, about the girls actually crossing the bridge from the south, because I'd always thought, did they really? Wouldn't they have just been at the north end? I mean, sorry, on the, wouldn't they have just been on the south bank, the south end, on the south bank, and walked a little way over the bridge and back? Because their photo that they take of the bridge, that's not shooting north to south, is it? Even their photo of the bridge, is it shooting south to north or north to south? Can anyone tell me? But I feel like it's not from that south bank end, right? I feel like, did they really cross that bridge? You know, grown men shudder and shake and break out a cold sweat and fall to their knees thinking about crossing that bridge. Did those? And when you're young, you are ballsy and you are more stupid because you don't understand true danger and fear. Fear is something you learn, right? But I've always wondered, you know, oh, were they, you know, taken down, you know, is that true? Is that point the true drop-off point? But then you've got to, this is the thing, isn't it, right? This is why trust is such a big theme with me at the moment. Trust on both ends of an investigation. And we have to trust that Ellie, you know, when people are saying over and over again where the girls were dropped off at Mears, why would Ellie let that run? Because it's such a huge lie and that's one of the secrets, but it doesn't help solve the case. I don't know why they would allow that. So, but do you know what I'm saying? It just, you know, the girls could have been at that south end and just standing on the bridge and just venturing out a little bit. Did they really cross over? I mean, they had time to do it. They had time to do it, to take it very slowly. And maybe you're a bit scared to get your phone out when you're on the middle of it or something like that. But the photos are from very safe places, right? On the bridge, right? That photo on that safely nestled on just that little platform and it's not too far out, right? You know, and if you were, say, as people are speculating, dropped off at Riley Park, because I did that video where I talked about how from that south end there is, you know, the proposed finish of the trail system is to go from that south end, you know, where the private drive is basically, to Riley Park, because then you're crossing over again on that swing bridge from the south side to north side into Delphi. And that's where a ballpark was, right? I'm not sure if that's where the new ballpark is, but that's the park where the girls were practicing and things like that, where we've got 19 different stories about the girls practicing. You know, what if that's where they wanted to go and then they have decided to walk over Riley Bridge down the private drive into that south side of the bridge. But why are we lied about them not being home and being, is it just because people are afraid of neglect and, of letting girls be off all day by themselves? I mean, we were all brought up like that. And this is all checkable by people's data. So how can it be a lie, right? So, you don't want to throw in with all the conspiracy theorists, but you have your own little doubts, I think I've known a few Trents. And there's Terence Trent D'Arby, the singer. Originally, Kelsey said 20 kids or so were there when she had dropped off, which would be at Riley, right? You'd expect them to be around that township area. That would be more like the place that everyone hangs out on the trails. Yeah, I'd love to. Wouldn't you just love to have wouldn't you love to have the telematrix on everyone's cars, everyone's phones? We just have to have the trust that LE knows. That's what we are asked, so we're asked to trust in the investigation, and then when we are constantly concerned and worried about the investigation, when something else happens and now it turns into, solving it and everything and telling us what happened, say after bodies are found, after someone's arrested or whatever, we then have to suspend all of that doubt and concern and then have great faith again in their abilities and their integrity and their thoroughness. It's crazy. It's really emotional and it messes with your head because you just want to be calm and measured and have this balance of trust and everything, right? But it's nearly impossible. And and it's degrading and disrespecting to all the good people that go into these professions and spend their time and resources on becoming qualified and gaining positions and who really are doing good, But I think we're all suspect now, particularly, there's huge big city corruption and there's small town corruption. We feel like nowhere's safe anymore, right? But there are so many people making up fake news and fake information and just pouring out their black, cold hearts. And what is more disappointing are the people that you see there praising them. That's what I find sickening. Yeah, hybrid. The drug hit, right? To me, that doesn't make no sense. You just take out the motherfucker that, you hate with. I know people do threaten people's families and things, but in that regard, I just can't see that Abby would have been taken out. There would have been plenty of opportunities to get Libby on her own. Oh, but maybe not, because the family like to make a point. Libby never wanted to be on her own. She always had someone with her. If it wasn't family, it was friends, So maybe they were never going to get a chance, but they could have constructed one. So Broken Justice thinks that law enforcement know who the killer is. And Broken Justice, do you think it's got anything to do with Kegan Kline or Tony Kline? And do you think the search in Wabash River has anything to do with it? I mean, isn't it crazy? It's actually quite crazy that right, Tony Kline, yeah, he's got to be very high on anyone's list. If he's not on someone's list, then they are just being purposefully blinded. So you don't think that possibly the Sorry, I'm just very dehydrated. You don't think that possibly... Yeah, they're not your average, but then people would have a good damn idea who these people are, right? You know, people in this town, everyone knows who these bad guys are. Law enforcement are aware of every single person like that. Um, if it was, I can't see how it wouldn't be solved and why, you know, and are the lives of two little girls, are these cops, are you saying Carter and everyone is just going to turn their backs on justice for these two little girls because of some scumbuckets that they might be getting certain information out of? Nah, I can't go that far. I just can't go that far. I can't let the conspiracy get too big, right? Because, you know, we're all doomed. We may as well not be doing anything. Let's just live as anarchists, do what thou will, you know. Oh yeah, I think cops in small towns could be doing more, but they really need to be PR experts. What they really need to do is be really visible in the community, be involved in community events, be known to businesses, business owners in a really good way. They need to get out there and have those community connections so that they can trust that they can talk to everyone, that they do hear things when they're going on. They can't be lazy, sitting in cop cars just pulling over people speeding down Hoosier Highway, right? You know, but I think a lot of people go into office because they see opportunity. I've got fruit, sorry. Because they see opportunity to make good in a town because they will have options for business deals and, you know, the like. I don't know. Or maybe because their daddy was and their daddy before, you know, and it's just the traditional thing to do. But in these small towns, yeah, there are always certain people wanting to be in positions of knowledge and power, right? And that's just the way it is, and it just broadens the divide. But it's not, see, this is the thing. It feels like sometimes people in the international community are more upset by it. If people aren't going to get upset in their own community, if they're too lazy to go to council meetings and be involved, you think, well, why the hell should I care what they're doing to their community? Why should we care that, you know, their communities getting ripped off by tens of $1,000s a month by these greedy councillors and their cronies and the papers that they push, right? When if the community themselves seem happy with the status quo or just don't care. But the problem with that is, of course, that eventually it means that when situations like a double homicide occur, then it's those same people that you're now relying on to do the right thing for two little girls. I think it's recent that KK has flipped and now it's game on. I just feel like why would he flip about Delphi after 5 years? I mean, there would have to be some new information that the police have gotten. What could that possibly be? I mean, it might be. It very well might be that something's happening with the girls' case. But I think we have to hold the thought that it really could be to do with the SAM trial coming up, because that's coming up in September or October, isn't it? So, you know, maybe he's trying to say he threw some electronics in the river, but what would that net them after all this time and all that time in the river. And it is weapons. So we do know from crime cases that criminals flee a scene where they've committed a bloody homicide, say, and they have a weapon with them for a short amount of time. And as they get nearer their destination, home, their comfort zone knowledge kicks in, right? They think of the place that they know, oh, the bridge, the river. And that's where something will go, a pond, a lake, a river near their home. So, I mean, that's common. So, yeah, there could be a murder weapon. It's been a long time. It could be under feet of silt and... Oh, yeah, but if he's either going to spend his time in prison as a child predator and abuser, or as a murderer. So he's fucked either way. I haven't really watched too much of the information about that. So this happened earlier in August, did it? So ISP went, they signed him out into their care for 3 days, was it? And then they've been seen at Wabosh, the divers, is that right? I wonder if they've been anywhere else. Also, what's the name of the gas station? Metropolitan or something? That is in Delphi, isn't it, right? They do mean the one in Delphi and not the ones in Peru and things like that. Is that right? Because that's creepy. Yeah, the gas station in Delphi. Because everyone, you all speculate, well, if he was there on a motorbike or a car or something like that, he's got to get gas. But why search it on your phone, particularly if a crime is premeditated and you are being careful and you are trying to make it seem like you are going to be somewhere else, i.e. Vegas? Why would you use your phone to search something in the area where the crime's going to be committed? It's truly bizarre. Where do we get this information from about the search? Is this from Murder Sheet documents? And is that what the connection is there, that the Murder Sheet documents along with the ISP information, has this all come out together, has it? Sorry, I need people to keep me up to date. Maybe he would look that up. He was very lax about information and he didn't seem to be fazed by most of the information on the phones that he handed over. But I think if he had... Hello. I think if he had gone to the gas station, I doubt he would have used a credit card or anything there, because considering he's Anthony Shots, if he was there using a credit card in Delphi on that day, then surely he would have been arrested on suspicion of murder, right? So they desperately have been trying to tie him in somehow further, haven't been able to. And Kegan would know that. It seems like he's pretty sly. I'm not saying he's intelligent. I think there are certain people that they're not necessarily bright, but they have a cunning about them and they apply it to criminal activity and things. And in the conversations he's had with HLN, etc., he comes across as someone really sly. Mm. Yeah, I don't know what to think. Yeah, and I mean, of course, I'm all for sleuthery, really, right? But I think the majority of people, I don't want to upset people here. I think the majority of people we need to accept we are not investigators. We're not sleuths. We don't have certain abilities. We don't have magical abilities, and we don't have enough information sometimes to be speculating in the way that we do often, or putting out the videos, the information that we put out. And I think we all need to learn just to cool our jets a little bit and not try so hard in a way, right? And really just focus on everything that's factual. Now, sure, if you are good at digging things up, it still doesn't mean that you're really good at analyzing it, but if it's legitimate, great. But I think we need to cut out the use of sources, etc., when we're making decisions, because a source isn't fact or an evidence. Hey, Jules, hello. I keep coming in on the end of everybody else's live. I just signed into yours when Kit left, and I'd missed all your conversation, and then I went into Zav. I'd gone into Zav Girl before that, and I just got the end of that. So I thought I'd have my own conversation, mostly with myself here. And now a few people have joined me. Hybrid says the Rodney case brought national press about our community and its downfalls. Look, it's holding a mirror up, but are people going to have the courage to draw the curtain back and look at it? Probably not. What most people tend to do is, rather than look into the mirror, they like to hold it up to other people instead of hold it up to themselves. And I guess actually I'm someone who often tries to hold a mirror up to other people. But, you know, a lot of people, I feel like, either they don't have a lot of control over their channel anymore in a way, or they kind of welcome not having control, because it creates this vortex, it creates this kind of, kinetic energy, and they're not too worried about really what's being said, because they just want to have noise. And yeah, you see some really good people lose their way. And sometimes people start off seemingly like, oh, and then they have these awakenings and they somehow get onto a really good path and they become very interesting. Broken Justice said it, it's chaos true crime. And because we all have become very comfortable with the immediacy of YouTube, and it's addictive, and it's, of course, it's entertainment, even for those of us who are here because we are curious about human nature, about what makes people different from you, and what divides you, and what is it, where is your own line, nearly. And yeah, chaos just says it all. Everybody is very, very quick, and don't ever think, please, that I'm excluding myself in fullness from anything I say. But everyone is quick they want to have an opinion. They've got to, have the opinion first. They've got to have the idea first. I mean, I quite often feel like I do have the ideas first. And quite often I will say them in comment sections rather than on my own channel. Maybe I need to really stop doing that, because sometimes it is frustrating. But it's become, such a, I mean, maybe it was always, sorry, I'm trying to keep hydrated. Sorry, I'm still just recovering from COVID, and I'm just still a little bit we're very, we're very quick to, and fair enough, but want to have our own brand and to want to have our own angles. But there are some very, this is the minority, but they're often quite loud, and they are the ones that are infectious. They spread the dis-ease, so disease is that unease, is that lack of ease, that it spreads. It's because, you've got genes and memes, right? This is how people pass on. You pass on genes, and memes pass on ideas and beliefs, and it spreads like wildfire. This is why I'm always talking about this, around the world, liars around the world in 80 seconds, and it never fully disappears. I mean, I've had to stop worrying about the lies and the slander people are propagating about me. They lie about things I've said. They slander me all the time, but you have to shut it off. But it's there forever, and and it's never just extinguished. You might think that 2 years later, some rumor that people have spread, it's out, it's gone, we've understood it. But of course, there's always new people coming onto YouTube, and they find something and they grasp onto it, and then they start it up again, right? It's this constant Ouroboros of, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And which side do we want to be on? We hope to be on the good. But that, there's a small faction of people that, well, number one, okay, so cyberbullies, trolls, and some of the really hardcore, bizarre tubers out there, we need to understand that human beings acting like that, they actually are sadists. And you laugh about the lies. You know what they really hate, broken justice, is being mocked. They can't stand it. So, it's difficult because on one hand, because there's no going for reason, right? There's no trying to get people to understand that that is actually hurtful, harmful, dangerous, that it affects you, right? So, and the best way is to mock. But at the same time, then they're just getting away with this disgusting behavior. But, people, there are sadists on YouTube, as well as antisocial people and narcissistic people and things, and lots of people have lots of different traits to a degree. But you can really start recognizing them, can't you? And they're very, very tricksy about how they start their channels. They just wade into the water a little bit, and they get you on board thinking this will be exciting because they understand psychology. They understand that people are looking for something new, and they're usually quite polished. And within 2 weeks or 2 months, the true colors start out, and then the head fuckery, manipulation, and everything comes out, doesn't it? And their true colors come shining through. Hello, M. M, I'm sorry that your mother seems to have had some decline. Is this a mental, like a brain function decline? Or is this a physical decline where she needs some constant support? I'm sorry to hear. I've really sort of missed what it is actually that you're going through, but I know that you're having to care for her now, so that's a big change of life. But Emily knows exactly what I mean when I'm talking about this sort of crap. You know, Emily and I do not, let's just get this clear. We're very, you know, we kind of do the same thing because we just come on and talk about things we want to talk about. But at the same time, we're very different people. We have very different ways of thinking about most things. We don't agree on everything. I know Emily does not agree with many things I say, or most, you know, lots. And I don't agree with everything she says. But I wish people would take these things as an example that we can all get on. We don't have to be in these weird cultish camps where we choose someone and that's it, right? And support them no matter what, and rail against others no matter what, and go along with whatever, because you see that happening in these groups that I'm talking about, in these sadist and psychopath channels, that they really mesmerize or hypnotize their viewers. I hope I didn't insult you then, Em. I think you understand. I think you agree with me with what I just said, right? But, you know, I think it's deeply concerning. Are the people in the comment sections of these really hardcore, bizarre, cruel, dangerous channels. I mean, they think that what they're doing is just, they can do whatever they want. They don't owe anything to anybody. It's a free world. They just keep saying, it's only entertainment. Oh, we're trying to get to the bottom of it. They've got so many people confused and manipulated. But it's so frightening how quickly people seem to pledge this kind of allegiance. I would be mortified. I'd be mortified if people pledged some sort of that sort of allegiance. Look at my little reflections. I'd be mortified if people had that sort of allegiance to anything that I said and just agreed with everything I said and didn't have the balls or the care or the mind to, when I say stupid things, you know, if people didn't care enough to put me in my place, you know, succinctly, firmly, politely, whatever, then I'd actually be really upset and insulted. I would think, oh, what have I attracted here? You know? Yeah. You know, no one should really want a sycophant, right? And a sycophant brings absolutely nothing to the table except, of course, to someone who wants their narcissistic supply. Sorry, I'm getting all fiddly, aren't I? Except for someone that wants their narcissistic supply, then in that case, they want a sycophant. But anyone else, it's the last thing you want because you learn nothing. You're not fulfilling any sort of objective for having a discussion channel, because there's no discussion. It's just you say something and everyone goes, yes, master. I mean, I can't imagine anything more revolting. Being in an echo chamber, you know. Yeah. So what have we decided in this brief chat? We've decided that, sure, Kegan Kline might be singing like a canary about Delphi. I'm a 50-50 on that. I've got that skepticism about that because I think it might just as well be to do with his CSAM trial coming up. I'm constantly suspending my belief about what happened at the bridge. I want to believe, you know, that law enforcement, there's no way they would go so far as to fake photos and things like that, or let the public look at fake photos as if they were real, you know, Abby on the bridge and bridge troll walking across the bridge. Even though I've often wondered, did the girls really cross the bridge, or were they already at the south side and just go a little way out onto the bridge? And, you know, so this week the theme for me has really so much been lack of trust, and what the difference is between faith and trust, and having to have faith in things rather than have trust, if that makes sense. Which is terrible, because faith versus trust, you know, it's faith that people have in a deity, in life after death, or in, you know, in those sort of concepts. You know, you can only go by faith, right? Whereas when we are observing law enforcement and other human beings, civilians, etc., and viewing true crime and looking at evidence and things like that, we have to trust evidence and trust process and trust all sorts of things, right? It is slightly different, but more and more it's becoming a matter of faith. Otherwise you just go crazy and you don't trust anything. Not making any sense. Yeah, it's just, I mean, as you know, this is what this channel is mostly about anyway. It's kind of the devil's avocado, right? The devil's advocate of always, okay, so you've got this belief, you think this, let's run it through the opposite. Let's run it through some what ifs. Because you'll either change your mind or you'll really understand your belief about something. And I'm constantly doing that, and people really hate that I do that. It really triggers people for some reason just to talk about opposite viewpoints. It's particularly started coming down heavy on me for doing that in the case of missing woman Suzanne Morphew. You know. Anyway, is there anything in particular that anyone wants to discuss now? I've had a chat for an hour, so, you know, I could go and walk my doggo now. And I didn't really have much to say, did I? I just wanted to pop on and see who was here, and if there was anything that they, you know, wanted to say or get off their chest about these cases. My things were about Kiely, Rodney, being really interested in the broken driver's window. People are saying, well, AWP would never smash that. I feel like I want to hear that from them, because they might have to smash it to get the car into neutral, and also, you know, and for maybe other reasons, you know, so that they can actually get the car out. I don't know, because when it hits the land, if it's in gear, they're not going to be able to drag it up to the tow truck. So, There's people having the opinion that, oh no, oh, they wouldn't touch it, they wouldn't smash it, but they would document. They're filming, so they document how it's found, and then maybe they do have to smash it. So that's why I was trying to see, can we tell if it's broken in or broken out? If it's broken out, how terrifying. Well, someone in a driver's seat broke it to try to get out of that car. Did they? Because remember, there's that long pause when police are asked, and was there only one person in the vehicle? And he's like, yes, there was one person in the car. Because we know, well, Kiely was the only person in the car when it was recovered, right? So what is he trying to say? All of these things, they just get you into overdrive, right? So I think there's going to be a lot of speculation about that, and people going around as if they're experts saying AWP would never break it, but maybe they would, because they've got to get that car into neutral. So I'm not sure about that. So I don't think we can go forward saying someone was in the car when it went in the water and the window was broken. I don't think we can be sure about that. I don't know what anyone thinks about that. I was at first thinking 50 feet is so far in, but if they've gone in, drifted a little bit, and then the car's flipped, that length of the vehicle, if it's flipped over the front way, well, that would allow for 20 feet or so, right? So maybe 50 feet isn't as abnormal as I thought. There is a big chance that there is no foul play other than Kiely Rodney is a 16-year-old child that's been able to get her hands on so much alcohol, maybe that, and look, we all did, well, some of us did, that she is blind drunk, paralytic, doesn't know where she is, has tried driving home, and maybe has even slammed on the accelerator and not the brake going into the water, or maybe done neither and just driven in. I feel like if there was some weird thing to do with the driving, swerving, accelerating, anything, I feel that the next day, the very same day she was reported missing and people looked down at the campground, they would have seen marks, wheel marks. I know there were so many cars there. There's lots of tire marks all through the sanctuary area and the road and getting on and off the road, but near the water, if she's gone in there at speed or with brakes, I can't believe that overnight the marks have disappeared, because we've seen that other marks have stayed for a longer period of time. So it is so bizarre. It's so bizarre. But foul play might only be involved as far as maybe someone keeping quiet, but also someone being responsible for providing alcohol to a minor, and it might have been her very own parents. We don't know, right? But it has resulted in a death, and normally maybe, yeah, sure, you turn a blind eye, because teens, they know how to get alcohol, they know how to get drugs, happens all the time, but this time it's ended up in a senseless death. And if there is a bottle shop that is sold, there's that footage of her in a store. Maybe there's another store where she's bought the alcohol herself, or hers, I can't say friends, or cronies of hers have bought alcohol for her. Maybe there's footage of that. Her kids source it from everywhere, right? They will go everywhere. They do anything. They buy it from other kids. They steal it from their, parents' liquor cabinets, all sorts of things, right? So, but if she can be proven in some way to have been sold it by, a business or something, well, they should be prosecuted to full extent of the law. 21 years old is legal. Anyway, I'm just repeating things I've said in the past, but I just wanted to see if anyone was on to tell me what they thought about Kegan Kline. Hybrids told me that she thinks it, or he, sorry, I think you're a she, eh? that she thinks it's to do with Delphi. I'm not 100% sure, but I hope it's cleared up so that a lot of the village of the damned just gets socked in their hideous, hateful faces. They talk about it. Oh, it's for justice. It's for the girls. No, these people are only for themselves. Only for themselves. That's all it is. You know, who has True Crime Design been before? What other channels has she run? And what was she saying there? What crimes was she involved in? Or what faction of YouTube was she on? You know, don't you want to know? Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there because I'm boring myself. Sometimes I say the most interesting things that I have to say in other people's comment sections. Because as you know, I'm a viewer that just likes to upload videos. So I'm rather annoying probably because I'm everywhere and anywhere. I go through a lot of content. Yeah, I devour it. All right, well, thank you to everyone that has been there. Bunny, I'm so devastated for you, for your mum. I really am. Yeah, just try to get as much support as you can for carers. Be really creative about where you seek help and everything. You know, keep thinking outside of the box. In Australia, you know, it can be hard for people to get services and help and things if they are, say, in smaller towns. But if you're in cities, well, quite often there are a lot of organisations that are getting a lot of government money to spend and people just don't know about it. And you sometimes don't realise what's there and what you're, you know, entitled to, what your mother is entitled to until you look around. And I know from working in a lot of NFPs, you know, government funded not-for-profits and things in all sorts of sectors, that too many people go too many years suffering, and they might be connected to some agency or be trying to seek out somewhere, but these people are giving completely ineffectual advice. They're not learning, they're not networking themselves, and they're not connecting their clients, you know, to networks. So you have to learn how to be a networker yourself and open all the doors for yourself. And things are there from all sorts of sources. You know, if you're just proactive, don't wait. And once you get connected up with the right people, there are people in all sorts of industries or organizations that, you know, some are better connected than others and some are more helpful than others. And, you know, so I hope you just find those people that are going to, give you the right support. Yeah. Because you've got a long road ahead, it would seem. And, you know, anywho, bye everyone. And thanks for listening to me just waffle on. And I was going to, I don't know if many of you watched my series that I did talking about, I juxtaposed Delphi double homicide against a homicide in New Zealand, against a case, a murder case, Jordan Viduri, and I just had wanted to show, look what happens, listen to the town gossip, and she's right there, and she knows these people, and see how wrong she's proven. But this would have been, this is a source, this would be someone's source if this was Delphi. If people were doing to Jordan Viduris, it's a Spitfire mystery, right? The murder that was committed and everything that surrounds the murder. It could just as well have been taken up by true crime YouTubers and used as fodder for years. So I wanted to show, well, let's look at this case. Can you see what's happening in Delphi when you look at Jordan's case? That person here is this person, and this is what they would be saying and running with. Do you just see? And then it's shown by Ryan Wolf. The series is called Guilt. The series that I watched is called Guilt. And it's 11 parts, and it's on Apple Podcasts, I think, and 4 parts of it are on YouTube. You can watch the first 4 episodes on YouTube, on Ryan Wolf YouTube. And you know, I just wanted to show, look, do you see what's happening? You know, and there's still so many questions I have about Jordan's case. And Ryan has actually said, for those of you that were interested in that and did go and have a look, he has brought some more evidence to light. He says there's something that he's discovered that's very interesting, and it's to do possibly with what people think is most possible and seems most possible if you're a reasonable person, and that is it's connected with people that used to rob from him and people that used to sell him product and things. So he's going to be making a new episode, so that'll be out on the Apple podcast of Ryan Wolf Guilt. I think his production company is Brevity. You can find it with a quick few words typed into Google. But, you know, I just had wanted to show, well, look at this case. Listen to these people talking in these interviews, what they're saying, what they've been telling people for a decade. And they are sure of it. And they're not shy in telling it. And they've got their theories. And then Ryan Wolf comes and, you know, probably does what police did without making it public. He talks to people directly that these women are gossiping about and, you know, blows a lot of stuff out of the water. And just shows you their perceptions aren't truth. So why are they so happy to talk so openly about their perceptions when they're talking about the murder of somebody, right? Now, I guess it's you know, maybe just human nature, but it's beyond that. What's happening is beyond that in the case of Delphi, because those gossips, those people with axes to grind or just with confused minds are no longer just talking to people in their town or random reporters that wander into their antique store. They are actively seeking out platforms, and they are trying to manipulate what's you know, their output, you know. So they are manipulating. These people that are happy to use sources in Delphi don't realize that they are basically tools. You are being used. You think you're using them to make good videos and you can justify it, fake justify, because you know you're fake justifying everything. You think you're justifying it by saying, no, this is a source and this is real, and I just, the world needs to know. You know, we need to know the truth. That's what you lie and tell everybody. But, you know, of course, they don't believe it. Don't think for one moment that these creators believe it, most of them. You know, but they don't realize that in turn they're being used by these people with their own agendas. So, you know, who's the idiot, right? You know, this JM woman is just one of many, but boy, does she get around in the case of Delphi. And people gladly put their reputations on the line over it. So it's quite a joke, really. But, you know, there's several women in the Jordan Vidori case that aren't quite a JM because they don't seem to have the maliciousness, but they do have the stupidity, or they just have just human fallibility, maybe, to be kind. But it's this. So imagine, yeah, it would have been exactly the same situation if YouTube had gotten hold of his case 10 years ago. So, anywho, I'll see you later, guys.